What's going on, Badger Nation? Welcome to the PPC Den podcast, where for over 300 episodes, we've been your home for all things Amazon advertising tips, tricks, and strategies to make your Amazon PPC life a little bit easier and a little bit more profitable. Today on the show, I am thrilled to have back the one, the only Blair Forrest, the only person in the Amazon PPC community who has come to one of my recreational volleyball games and cheered on our team. Thank you so much, Blair. Blair and I have done some amazing content over the years, and today is no different. We're going to be talking about surviving on Amazon because it has been difficult to thrive on Amazon with the introduction of Amazon inbound placement fees. We're going to talk about how to shrink Amazon placement fees, what exactly they are, how they're impacting Amazon sellers, and why it's made it so gosh darn difficult for Amazon sellers. Blair and I have created some amazing content over the years on this show, so be sure to get the link to the description, to the Badger Guide, to Amazon PPC advertising, updated as recently as October 2024, because we've got previous content that we've done related to inventory optimization, which if you're an optimizer, if you're a campaign manager, you work with clients, or you're managing your own PPC campaigns, I love the way that Blair and I get together and approach inventory management as an optimization tool. So we covered IPI score optimization and how inventory management and Amazon ads connect so perfectly together. We've discussed this previously on the show, which is in our big old spreadsheet, which, to be honest, I think is the greatest resource on Amazon advertising in the world. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the episode. Let's do it.
I've launched campaigns and picked keywords. I've got my bids, set placements too, and bad mistakes. I've made a few. I've had my share of wrong keywords, but I've gone through. We are the PPC Den, my friends, and we'll keep up the rising to the end. You two are the PPC Den. We talk about Amazon. No time for mannequins, 'cause we fix the gambits of the world.
Blair, when I want to show up and skip practice and just walk up to the home plate and just hit a home run, I call you, because that's what we do, baby. I'm excited today because you're back on the show. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. And I'm excited because I feel confident that you and I create some of the most fire, most entertaining, most useful, most on top of mind content for Amazon sellers in the world of, this inventory world of Amazon. And it's just, it's always a privilege to get on the mic with you. So thank you so much for coming, bringing the energy and the knowledge.
I appreciate you. It feels like we make magic every time we do this. We do this content. I get a little bit more ego when I see those views going up too. So I really appreciate you. It's these are a ton of fun, and like we said, man, eat the damn broccoli. That's all we're trying to do here. Figure out your logistics. That's all.
Eat the broccoli. Yeah, is it because in the world of inventory management, I mean, we're talking about placement fees today, right? And in the world of like exciting, flashy things, the latest SEO hack to sort of jump up is always hot on people's mind, when I feel like it should also be like the very best sellers, brands that I know, they like recognize the power of like internal efficiency, like knowing like how much every single unit costs and every single fee associated with it. And they're like really well optimized before they do any of the quote unquote like hacks related to like SEO or PPC or whatever, click-through rate hacks, all that stuff. Do you also find that to be true with some of your most successful people that you work with?
Yeah. So the challenging thing about logistics, like that new SEO hack keeps you up at night because you're so damn excited. You're like, when you're laid in bed and you have the laptop open and you're geeking out, everything in my world is usually making you lose sleep for the exact opposite version. Amazon has not made it easy for any seller to have a very happy evening, have a non-stressful weekend. And obviously, the past few years have been really challenging. And they thought, you know what, let's go through and let's create a little bit of havoc. You know what I mean? Let's create a little bit of noise, a little bit of stress, because the sellers didn't have enough of it. Let's just drop placement fees right on these sellers' heads just because we can.
Alrighty, let's get into the meat of the episode here. Let's talk placement fees. Alrighty, so first of all, I want to get the word on the street, because when I talk to people, I'm generally talking about their traffic, their conversion rate, their ACoS, their total ACoS, their organic placements. I'm talking to them about their marketing performance, but you often talk to them on their inventory management. And I'm curious, like, what is the word on the street? What are people saying about inbound placement fees? What's the word on the street?
And I'll break it down to a couple of different segments. I think number one, what is placement fees? Let's go backwards. Let's take a little time machine back, Michael, to March 2024. A little bit colder here in Canada. Sun was shining down in Texas.
Yeah.
People were enjoying life.
I was so young. Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And what happened that day in March is that Amazon announced all their new fees. A lot we were expecting. Things weren't too out of the ordinary. And there was this one little line item right in the middle. They didn't try to catch anyone's notice, called inbound placement fees. So what happened in the past is that inbound placement fees, Amazon always had this. I think this is something sellers thought different of. Amazon, what happened is you would traditionally send to one warehouse, maybe a few warehouses. They would split shipments accordingly based off the algorithm and sales data. And you would send the stock to several facilities. This was very normal. Sometimes it's the one, sometimes it's the six. Amazon makes that decision accordingly. And it would traditionally be quite close to whatever the ship from location is. If you're in Texas, it's probably going to multiple Texas facilities, so on and so forth. And what would happen is that Amazon would take that stock and they would do sub-distribution splits themselves. Sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't, but they traditionally took on that initiative. In Canada, it's still like that. So I think also the caveat, inbound placement fees are only affecting the US. They will come internationally, but for now, this is a .com challenge. So Amazon always did these splits in distribution. What happened is that Amazon got a little bit smarter and they said, well, we're trying to get your stock to everywhere to optimize for the customer experience, the fastest shipping time possible. And why should we be paying for that? You're the seller. You're on my marketplace. Let's pay up. So inbound placement fees are purely the charge for you as the brand to be able to split your stock against multiple facilities. If you want Amazon to do that on your behalf, they will charge you a per item placement fee to route stock to anywhere from 3 to 10 different facilities across the nation.
So let me break this down. I'm picturing a little infographic of a little cargo of my stock moving around. So stock would come in, go to one place for Amazon, and then Amazon would split that inventory up automatically for sellers. Okay, we're going to send some to Texas, we're going to send some on the West Coast, some on the East Coast, some in the Midwest, and ensure that when people are buying these things, it's not really fast for them. Is that the understanding?
Bingo. So they want to get the stock. So in the past, what would do is that you would send it to California, and then they would send partial stock to Idaho, a little bit to New York. If it was a surfboard, 80% is probably getting sent to California, and then 20 to New York, 10% to Florida. They will do that based off their algorithm. Now, that didn't change. The only thing that changed is now you need to pay.
Wow.
And I'll break that down a little bit further. So let's talk about the actual placement fees and inbound placement configuration. There's a couple ways that you can, and the fees they range, right? So for standard items, you're talking anywhere from 20 to 60 cents. Oversized, it's a lot more significant, anywhere from $2 to $6, give or take. And how the placement fees work, and you get to decide as the seller, the placement fees are dictated by the number of facilities that you send the stock to. So you're the seller and you're about to send a shipment. Michael's in Texas, he's about to send his sunglasses to the Amazon facility. Now you are in control. You pay, but you're in control. If you send to one facility, Amazon will allow you to send to one facility and they will do the entire disbursement of multiple facilities on your behalf. This is what we call the most aggressive inbound placement fee configuration. You are purely paying to send all your stock. It could be a box, it could be a pallet, it could be a container, to one facility maybe in Texas, and they will do the splits on your behalf. Let's go to the other side. If you want to send it yourself, Amazon gives you the options. It's called the most optimal split. So after 5 warehouses, if you want to send the stock to 5 different warehouses, Amazon will show you which ones to send to. It could be across the country. Once you send it to 5+ warehouses yourself, there will be no placement fees. And as that number goes down, so if you do 2 warehouses that you want to split it to, 3 warehouses, 4, all the way to 5, that placement fee starts to get diminished, right? So what happens after 5? You're a seller, you don't want to pay for the placement fees. Now you're going to do and send the stock to 5 warehouses yourself, right? And you avoided placement fees. We're excited, we're saving money, but not yet, young fellow. The challenge is now you're going to be paying for freight to 5 different facilities, could be anywhere across the country. California, New York, Texas, Florida. You are at complete disarray because now that entire bill with Amazon's discounted place, like their shipping fees, or you do it yourself with a freight carrier, whatever it is, now you need to pay that entirely. That is now the matrix that a seller needs to decide between. Do we go for the most splits? Do we go for limited splits? Do we find somewhere in the middle? This is where the conversation gets a little bit more challenging. And this has been basically the kryptonite of sellers the past, call it 6 months.
So let me just wrap my head around this. The easiest thing for a brand to do is ship it all to one spot and then have Amazon spread it all around. And that's going to have the highest placement fee. But if I want to reduce my placement fees or avoid them, I could take a step where I ship it myself to 2 centers and all the way up to 5 centers. And that reduces fees on the Amazon placement fee side. However, it's more expensive for a brand to ship it freight to 5 different places.
Bingo. Now, this is where you have to get a little bit strategic, right? How costly is it? If we're talking about maybe an energy drink company who's got a 3-pound package, that to ship it to 5 different warehouses across the country, it will literally obliterate them. So you can send it to one, but then you're paying, call it $2 placement fee? So there has to be, and I don't think majority of sellers are even looking at that number. After March, what happened is that if you go to shipments, all you see is this nice, you had your freight fees, which is always there. Now you have this brand new toggle, which is placement fees. We were seeing it with brands anywhere from a couple $100 to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in placement fees.
Wow.
Because if they're shipping in, 2,000 items and it's 2 pounds, that's $4,000, $5,000 per shipment. And you still need to pay the freight to get it to that facility. And then they'll do the distribution on your behalf.
This is wild.
It's big. It's big.
The word on the street is really like trying to survive on Amazon this year, right?
Being really tough. Look at the numbers. Maybe a brand is making $3, $1 of that just got cut. It has been kind of this kryptonite for a lot of brands. Now, Amazon AWD, which is Amazon's distribution network. So if you're a private label seller, you can use Amazon AWD. They only handle certain size cartons. This is meant for like private label sellers, but they do support it. They have their own strategy where if you use AWD, they'll actually void the placement fees. It's a very tactical way for them to get into the 3PL world, which is what we're seeing. Like a lot of our California sellers, depending on where they are, they might be using AWD and us. They might be using us for e-com, but then now all the carton stuff is going directly to AWD, because if they had to do the placement fees themselves, like they're screwed. That energy drink company I was telling you about, Michael, they do 7 shipments a month, pretty big, $30 or $40 million a year on Amazon. Their weekly placement fees are $6,500 and another $3,000 in freight every week. So call that, I don't do public math, Michael, but that's close to $60,000 a month, give or take. Another, call it almost $1 million a year in brand new fees, purely because Amazon decided so. And what are you going to do? There's not many options to deal with. There is some solutions, but there's not many.
So aside from calculating, like a brand calculating, do I ship it to multiple warehouses myself, or do I have Amazon do it and pay an inbound fee? Aside from running that math in a spreadsheet somewhere. Well, the first thing that I actually wanted to mention is I would wager that most sellers are not running that math, right? I talk to a lot of sellers, and sometimes there's a service of just, there's tools out there that just list your Amazon fees by product, right? Like all those things. And it's like that in and of itself, like getting a clear sort of cost revenue analysis, a clear individual P&L per product can sometimes be really difficult for Amazon sellers in the fray of everything that they need to do. So aside from running that math, like what even can be done? Like what are the mechanisms of, this is something that you address with people, isn't it?
It's in the US, it's the biggest challenge. We have a very specific solution, and I'll walk you through. Maybe a seller can mimic it in some way, or, you know, if they can pair up with other sellers, they might be able to do it as well. Use one of our major prep facilities. And like, to give an idea, we're labeling 8 million items a month going to FBA. So it works because of the size of us, pattern, very similar. Like they have a massive operation, so it works. So what happens from our facilities is that we have containers going to basically every facility at least once a week. And because of this, you know, if it's going to through our warehouse, then what happens is that, you know, if you have a pallet going from Texas to California, call it $400, maybe $800, depending on if it's multiple pallets. If you use through our distribution, it might be close to $200. And the only thing that's changing is you're just piggybacking on the freight. So because we already have a container going there, it's like a carpool, right? You know, Michael's already driving to Cali. I don't want to take my own car. I don't want to pay for the gas, you know, so I'm just going to jump in Michael's car and get there basically. We've started to do this. We've even had it. So some brands, like they're not using our warehouse. They're literally just sending the stock to our warehouse and we're just putting it in one of our trucks and it's still cheaper. Literally, like we have a brand in New York sending it down to Alabama or Kentucky, and then we're sending it to FBA and it's still cheaper. So that's one solution that we're exploring. And if the brand's big enough, or maybe you have a consolidation of sellers, then you guys may be able to do that and piggyback, right? So you get a container going to each warehouse. It needs to justify, right? If not, you're in a very difficult place. If you're a, call it larger weight brand, call it maybe above a pound, above 2 pounds, above 3 pounds, Seller Fulfill Prime is the only other solution that might make sense, which is, okay, you're going to store the stock yourself. You need multiple facilities to do it. And you'll now fulfill the orders like FBM, but with a Prime badge. And there's very high expectations. We can probably do a whole episode on just SFP because it's a big conversation, but you will never inbound stock to Amazon's facilities. But now it's on your behalf to ship that product to the end customer, maintaining the Prime SLAs, maintaining all the things that Amazon needs. And you still get the Prime badge, so that's okay. But you need to now run the different shipping analysis, which is, can you afford to ship it to the end customer? Do you have a warehouse that does this for you? Do you do it yourself? Like now these are things that start to go into the calculation. So it's not as easy as a yes or no, but these are two solutions that we're playing with, but we haven't fully figured it out either, right? Amazon changes pretty often and we're just trying to, you know, build solutions on the fly to try to support these guys. Like, you know, it's us versus Amazon right now. So boy, we're trying for sure.
Wow. Well, I think we did it. I think you brought the heat. I knew about inbound placement fees, but now I feel like I understand them much, much better. And dang, I totally get the word on the street on Amazon, you know, that bill to distribute, split up that inventory is wild.
There's one other side, which I could recommend. If you don't mind, Michael, I shall propose. International does not have placement fees. Amazon Canada, Amazon Europe. There's two things with international that could play into your thought process. One, you can charge more. Just, it's a desert up here, right? You know, we're living in igloos. We're okay paying $29.99 for something that's $12.99. So there's a little bit of this.
I'll pay a little extra for my, what do you have up there? Like pet penguins?
Yeah, whatever you did. We'll pay more for it up here, or same in the EU, very similar. So there's less expectations on the pricing and there's no placement fees. Yes, volume is different. We can talk about that. That's a whole other episode. But there is an opportunity there where if you can figure out international, again, you know, this was a big tank. This is anywhere from, you know, could be $50,000 in profit for a seller all the way to millions, right? Like that's significant. Brands need to start thinking differently. Are they going to e-com? Are they going to TikTok shop? You know, are they going international? Like if you're not thinking in this way, instead of just, you know, new fees, just take it on the chin. If you're not strategic about this, like, you will be left behind. Amazon fees are going to continue to raise. Like, I don't see this changing anytime soon. I just think it's going to get worse, unfortunately. And, You can cry inside or dance in the rain. And, Michael and I will get our umbrellas out and we're going to damn town. You know what I mean? So this is the business at the end of the day. You got to thrive or survive, and we're trying to do both.
It's true, man. I feel like there was a period of time where like Amazon sellers like it had it really simple, where it was just like, oh, like let me just do this and like find out exactly what product to do, and like I'm just gonna have success. And there was a bunch of tailwind pushing you forward, and now I definitely feel like it's evolved quite a bit, and you really like the level of operational excellence that one needs in order to really be successful and thrive. The bar has been raised.
I know. I'm seeing it. I actually have a big prediction that over the next year, 2 years, the Amazon agency landscape there's actually going to be a whole new subset, which is Amazon like operation agencies. Not just ad agencies, but like actual agencies that just focus on like inventory, operations, logistics, whether they add it in or they start opening their own warehouses, or maybe they're just like COOs. I see this actually being like this is my prediction. We're going to play it back in 2 years.
Yeah.
And there won't just be ad agencies now. It's going to be this whole inventory logistics consultation, which just isn't even a conversation. And boy, it's going to feel good when that happens.
Yeah, I agree. I have a similar prediction for the specialized agency, the benefit of branching out to becoming more useful to your clients. But Blair, we're going to finish up here. Thank you so much. Get back on the show. I'm really curious on a lot of these other threads to pull on, but we're going to leave it there. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Flirt with me on LinkedIn, Blair, Blair at amzprep.com.
Yes.
That's the other place you can hit me up. If you got fun things to show me, if you want to cry on my shoulder for the logistics piece, I love chatting shop. So yeah, just hit me up.
Awesome. Blair, thank you so much for coming back. Everyone else, I'll see you next week here on the PPC Den podcast.
I've launched campaigns and picked keywords. I've got my bits, set placements too.